Part 6. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 51. Chapter 51, Variables, please vote for recommendation. Who's to blame? I asked him to come. If he doesn't come, why should he blame me? Mei Shui was not happy. She just wanted to help in Liang and in Wen because she liked them. And Shan and the others were not familiar with her, so what if they didn't help? Seeing that Xiaoxiu was unhappy, Grandma he sighed and said nothing more. Grandma, don't worry. It's not our fault. Helping is a matter of friendship, not helping is a duty. We don't owe their family anything. Seeing her grandma thinking too much, Mei Shui immediately comforted her. Grandma Lai he doesn't understand this, which is why she doesn't want to interact with more people on weekdays. That's right, forget it, let's see again tomorrow. Have a good night's sleep. Aunt Ting's family is indeed in some trouble. The main problem lies with He Zhengting. After he heard about it when he came back at noon, he wanted Enlin to learn it. After all, he was also an elder brother and was about to get married. It was good to learn a craft. But Aunt Ting didn't want to. The person she came to call was Anshan, and now it's Enlin. I'm afraid that the third aunt will have something in mind. Furthermore, Enlin also has his own little ideas. Anyway, he expressed his stance that he wants to learn from it. And Anshan is still a child, but he is not stupid. There are two brothers in the family. He knows that his father likes the eldest brother more, but this time his sister-in-law calls him, and he does not want to miss it. He has seen that plum wine before, and it sells very expensively. It is right next to the school, and he often hears his classmates talk about it. So, Aunt Ting's family delayed this matter because of who they asked to learn. Finally, after dinner, He Zhengting made the decision and asked Enlin to study. Anshan had a bad temper all night, and his relationship with his brother became worse and worse. Mei Shui and others don't know these things, mainly because Uncle Zhengting is a good-faced person. Everyone knows that there will be no quarrels at home. The next day, just after breakfast, 3 families were welcomed outside Mei Shui's yard. The male owners of the 3 families came with their children. He Zhenkei and He Zhensi both carried some gifts in their hands, such as a piece of bacon or a wax rabbit. Only He Zhengting was empty-handed. As soon as the 3 of them met, they all smiled and said hello. Grandma, he is hanging clothes outside. Mei Shui has washed all the clothes. She is washing dishes in the kitchen at this time. Why did you meet each other? Come in quickly. Fortunately, my yard is big enough. Third aunt He Zhengting and the other 3 shouted in unison. As for Enlin and the others, they called her third grandma. Sit down and wait until I finish the work. Grandma he was a very discerning person. When she saw Enlin coming over, she knew something must have happened. Xiaoxiu didn't say yesterday whether she wanted Enlin or Anshan to come, but when she said it in the past, she meant Anshan, but today it's Enlin who came, I'm afraid. Grandma he shouted into the kitchen. Xiaoxiu, please stop working now. Uncle Zhengting and the others are here. Mei Shui had already heard the sound, but the bowl in her hand would be washed soon, so she was not in a hurry. Hey, here it comes, she said to the outside. Don't be in a hurry, don't be in a hurry, third aunt. The 3 of them were a little embarrassed. What's the rush? You'll have to chop wood later. That's money, so we can't delay it. Grandma he said to them as she hung up the clothes. It doesn't matter if we delay for a day, He Zhengting said with a smile. He Zhenkei and He Zhensi didn't speak, mainly because they thought it was important to delay for one day. If it weren't for the purpose of sending something, they really wouldn't have planned to come. An Wen pulled Enlin and ran to Mei Shui's wine vat, letting him smell it to see if it smelled like plums. Enlin didn't understand, so he actually went up to smell it, and when he smelled it, it smelled of wine and not a bit of plum. En Liang was playing with the water by the well, and helped the third grandma fill 2 empty buckets with water. Meixue quickly walked out of the kitchen. When she saw people, she called out one by one, "Uncle Genting, Uncle Gensi, Uncle Genke." "Hey, Xiaoxiu is good." When Genke saw Xiaoxiu coming out, he immediately handed over his rabbit. "Xiaoxiu, let me give you a taste of this. Uncle has something else to do, so he will leave first. And Liang will leave it to you. If there is any work, just ask him to do it. The sun is rising soon, so I have to go." Gensi heard what Genke said and took out his piece of bacon. "That's right, and when will be left to you? You can let him do any heavy work. He is stronger than An Liang. We still have to chop wood, and Xiaoxiu, let's leave first." The two put their things on the table and walked out of the courtyard. As he walked, he told his sons to obey. This made Genting a little embarrassed. He came today mainly to ask about Xiaoxiu's wine making. He was somewhat sure about it. Just because they knew his temper, Genke and Gensi ran as fast as rabbits. Mei Shui was stunned. "What are you bringing things for? It's so troublesome." Grandma he cursed behind her in annoyance. "But as long as they have the intention." And Liang and An Wen were confused when they heard what their father said. "Are they being sold?" Mei Shui didn't waste any time. She would have to pick plums later. "Did Uncle Genting send An Lin to learn how to make wine?" Mei Shui said directly. Genting is the kind of person who likes to take things slowly." Mei Shui's directness made him a little uncomfortable and he frowned. "Who is Grandma He? She knows all these nephews very well." After hanging up the clothes, she put the pots away and said, "Genting, would you like An Lin to come to your house? If it's An Lin, let him prepare a vat, wine, and sugar, and we'll go pick plums together later. All the plums at home have been used up." Grandma He's words were very direct. She pulled away from Mei Shui and sat down. Opposite Genting. Mei Shui glanced at An Liang, An Wen, and An Lin, and frowned. She regretted it now. These things were so troublesome and it would be better to do them alone. Genting had a headache when he saw Third Ant coming to talk to him. He knew very well what kind of person Third Ant was, so he had to bite the bullet and nodded. Seeing him nod, Grandma he spoke again, "How much wine do you plan to make?" An Liang made 40 kilograms, and An Wen made about 60 or 70 kilograms. "What about your family?" Before Genting could be surprised, Grandma he dropped a bomb again. "My Xiaoxiu is responsible for teaching, but there is no guarantee that it will be successful. After all, everyone's brew tastes different. According to preliminary estimates, it will cost at least 10 or 20 yuan money. You know, wood only costs a few cents per 100 pounds, and it will take several days to cut it to earn back the money." Grandma he throws away all the blame. "Anyway, the conditions are like this. If you can accept it, then learn together. If you are afraid of not succeeding, then please leave." Grandma he was very tough regarding the Xiaoxiu incident. This is also the reason why Aunt Zillion and Aunt Milian didn't come to ask, for fear of making the third aunt unhappy. "I walked too much yesterday and can't even get up today. Oh, it would be great if I could just lie down and type." End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 52. Chapter 52, Frustrated. Genting opened his mouth, and finally looked at An Lin, seeing that he was looking at her expectantly, and no matter how worried he was, he turned into love. "I'll listen to Third Ant and Xiaoxiu." After making up his mind, Genting looked at Mei Shui and said, "Xiaoxiu, how much money do you need? Tell your uncle, and he will give it to you." After hearing this, Mei Shui laughed and said, "How much it costs depends on you, Mr. Genting. You can learn for $1 or $2. And Wen is not sensible, but he has bought all the wine. It is not in a hurry to regret it." Speaking of this, Mei Shui glared at An Wen and said in a fierce tone, "An Wen, I'm telling you, don't cry if you lose, I won't compensate you then. And Wen had been mentally prepared for a long time. Besides, he was not a person who would not get into trouble. How could he not understand his sister-in-law's intention? He smiled naively and said, "Don't worry, sister-in-law. The loss is also due to my poor fortune. How can I blame my sister-in-law, woolen cloth?" He Zhenting listened to the conversation between the two. He was so shrewd that he didn't understand what Mei Shui meant. He sighed, "Xiaoxiu, thank you for teaching Enlin and the others. I'm here to thank you." After saying that, He Zhenting stood up and said, "Here is 20 yuan, Enlin, take it and buy whatever you need." After saying that, he put the money on the table and said hello to Grandma He. Just walked out. Grandma He curled her lips, but didn't say much. "Enlin, take it yourself, come here." Everyone was gone, what else could be done? Third Grandma Enlin's behavior was still very well behaved and honest. Sister-in-law He and He-Ans were of the same year, but He-Ans was only a month older. That sister-in-law was called correctly. "Okay, it depends on how much wine you want to make. But let me explain first, it's just a try now. I can't guarantee whether it will be successful or not. So, take it easy. In addition to the wine, you also have to buy a few kilograms of rock sugar. Not much, about 5 pounds. Mei Shui regrets it now. If she had known better, she would not have done such a troublesome thing. She is really upset. Also, do you have a big vat at home? If not, you have to buy one. You will prepare these things today. And Liang and I will go pick plums and come back first." Mei Shui didn't want to say any more. Seeing that Mei Shui's tone was becoming more and more impatient, Grandma He immediately took over the conversation. "Enlin, get ready first. Mei Zi will ask En Liang and the others to pick more things. It won't be troublesome to pick more things. You go and do the serious things first." He Enlin smiled so naively at his third grandma and Mei Shui, and also wrote down everything Mei Shui ordered. "Well, I listened to my third grandma and my sister-in-law." Grandma He took the money from the table and gave it to Enlin, asking him to buy it himself. "You can keep this money yourself. Don't spend it carelessly. It's not easy to make money. I know the third grandmother, I won't use it randomly." After Enlin left, Mei Shui sighed and glared at En Liang and En Wen angrily. "I wouldn't have taught you if I had known." Trouble. Her tone was very resentful. En Liang was both strong-skinned and thick-skinned, so he immediately stepped forward to please him. After this incident, En Wen was no longer as shy as before, and he tried to please Mei Shui with every word. After the incident, Mei Shui took the two of them up the mountain. She really didn't know much about where there were plums on the mountain, so she could only follow them. Along the way, we saw a lot of plum trees, but En Liang said they were from other people's mountains. It was okay to pick a few and eat them, but not too many. They have to go to deeper and higher mountains. "Are you there yet?" Mei Shui was not tired, but after walking for a long time and not even seeing the shadow of a tree, she was anxious. "Sister-in-law, there is still some way to go. We have to go up to the highest mountain. That is the mountain in the team. It does not belong to everyone. You can pick the plums there without fear of trouble. En Liang is smart. They pick plums to make wine. If they succeed and can make money by selling them, the people in the village will definitely be jealous, and it will be very troublesome. Don't think about it, it will definitely happen." Looking at the low and dense woods, Mei Shui felt a little excited and worried in her heart. There are certainly many animals living in a forest like this. Excitement is a reward, worry is a fear of a wild beast that may hurt people. It's not that she's worried blindly, it's that she has experienced it. I don't know how long they walked, until En Liang and En Wen were both sweating profusely, and they finally stopped. When I came to a place with water flowing, I said, "Sister-in-law, take a rest. We are here generally, few people come here, and no one has a vegetable patch here. Except for those who cut down trees, no one comes here. Are you here? Mei Shui looked around and saw no shadow of any plum trees. She was confused. Where are there any plum trees here? And Liang took a handful of water on the spot, washed his face first, then brushed off the leaves with his hands, lay down on the ground and drank the water. Sister-in-law, the tree is right up there. You can't see it, but we will see it when we go up from here. There are 3 plum trees here, and Wen said with excitement. Meixiu didn't know, but now that they were here, what else could she say, so she had to follow them. Sister-in-law, would you like a drink of water? The water here comes from the ground and is very clean, and Liang said to Mei Shui after drinking the water. Meixiu shook her head and said, I brought water. You can drink it? After drinking, we will pick plums. Pick them early and go back early. And Wen was also thirsty. After An Liang left, he immediately lay down and started to replenish water. People in the mountains don't take water out with them. There is groundwater everywhere, so you can drink water at any time. While Mei Shui and others were picking plums on the mountain, An Lin also returned home. He Zhengting saw An Lin coming back behind him, and his face immediately showed displeasure. However, he didn't ask directly. He just glanced at An Lin. An Lin was a little afraid of his father. When he saw him looking over, he immediately told what his third grandmother and sister-in-law had said. After listening, he Zhengting nodded, okay, I'll go shopping with you later. Aunt Ting looked at her son and felt very uncomfortable. No matter which son she helped, the other would be hurt. Her compromise this time was just because An Lin was getting married and had to let him get married first. It's always good to learn a craft. Anshan is still young, so we'll have to wait a little longer. Thinking of Anshan, Aunt Ting turned around and went to work, out of sight. As for Anshan, he went out very early in the morning, and no one knew where he was going. At noon, Mei Shui didn't want to stay any longer in the mountains, and she had almost picked the plums, so she immediately proposed to go back. An Liang and An Wen obviously didn't want to go back, and they both looked at Mei Shui with innocent and pitiful eyes. Meixiu knew a little about what they were thinking about, and there were some on the mountain, but she was more afraid that her grandma would worry about her. Come back in the afternoon. Mei Shui's meaning was very clear. When the two of them heard this, they were happy and said, okay, just listen to my sister-in-law. Immediately they picked up their burdens and started walking down the mountain. Get your votes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 53. Chapter 53, He Zhengting. Seeing how childish they were, Mei Shui also smiled rarely. The way down the mountain didn't feel very far. Even with the burdens on their backs, the 3 of them walked very quickly. During this period, An Liang and Mei Shui changed once, and An Wen took 2 breaks. At noon we finally arrived home. Grandma He walked out of the kitchen as soon as she heard the sound. When she saw the person, her uneasiness finally calmed down. You guys are back, are you tired? Xiaoxiu, are you hungry? Grandma made your favorite dish today, come wash up and eat soon. The 3 of them came in, but Grandma He only had eyes for Mei Shui. Third grandma, I'm hungry and tired too, why don't you care about me? After An Liang got to know third grandma, he looked like a monkey. Every time there would be a scene. Who is Grandma He? I want to argue with her, haha, I need to deal with it. What's wrong? Xiaoxiu taught you how to make wine, and I still have to provide you with food, drink, and diarrhea. Grandma He glared at An Liang. Normally I don't see you coming to show filial piety to me, an old woman, but now that I'm here, you still can't even take the food out of me. Bala Bala was scolded, and An Liang was stunned by the scolding. He really just said it casually. Even if the third grandma asked him to eat here, he would not eat. Why is the third grandma so angry today? Ah, it's so hot, sister-in-law, we'll go to the mountain later in the afternoon, and I'll go back first. The master's face turned red with embarrassment. And Wen is older and can see some things more clearly. He may understand a little bit of what the third grandma means, but he seems to think that the third grandma is like this. Perhaps I gave them a good look too many times and gradually made them forget who the third grandma was. Third grandma, I'm going back first, my sister-in-law is not in a hurry this afternoon. After the others left, Mei Shui was still confused. She was protecting the food, but she was not so stingy. Grandma, is it someone who has made you angry? To her, nothing is as important as grandma. Seeing grandma like this, Mei Shui said with a fierce look on her face. Third grandma, when she saw the two running away, she gave them a look. When Xiaoxiu asked, she immediately pulled Mei Shui into the kitchen. It's not that grandma is being stingy. This hole cannot be opened. Not only do they learn to make wine from you, but we also have to provide them with food and drink. How can there be such a beautiful thing in the world? Now there are two of us. It doesn't matter if we eat with us. What about three of us? When grandma he said this, she glanced at Xiaoxiu and said, you can't feed them every day. Even though it's only for a day or two, I just feel unhappy. Mei Shui nodded, I understand, it's great for grandma to have you. Mei Shui hugged her grandma happily. That's right, she doesn't owe them anything. As for what An Liang and An Wen said, she felt happy, but An Lin, forget it, Mei Shui didn't want to say anything more. Teaching her once is enough. That of the Holy Mother is not suitable for her. Grandma made quite a lot for lunch, but it was only enough for the two of them. I guess grandma really didn't plan to keep An Wen and the others for dinner. After An Liang and An Wen returned home, they also told their parents about the third grandma's anger. Aunt Zillian sighed after hearing this. Don't blame your third grandma. She did nothing wrong. She owes you nothing. Teaching you how to make plum wine is just a matter of love. If I keep you to eat, do you have the nerve to keep it yourself? After all, the third aunt was angry about An Lin's matter. This matter did not go according to Xiaoxiu's wishes, and the third aunt was angry. Aunt Mei Lian was more direct here, your third grandma owes you. Are you still raising your heart now? If you still want to eat, eat shit. He Zhenkei felt the food in his mouth tasted as he listened to his wife's words. Okay, just say a few words, An Liang, your third grandma has her own reasons for not letting you eat. Besides, you have received a lot of benefits from your third grandma and your sister-in-law, and I don't see you being filial to her. After saying that, he gave his son a roll of his eyes to get used to you. An Liang felt so aggrieved. He may have wanted to eat the food cooked by his third grandma, but it was not to take advantage. The food cooked by his third grandma was really delicious. I told my parents about this because on the way back, Brother An Wen told him that it was probably because of Brother An Lin that third grandma was unhappy, and third grandma was taking it out on them. Forget it, let him bear all the sorrow alone. In the morning, he was really tired and hungry. An Liang didn't want to be thought of being again, so he turned his grief into food and ate. After taking a nap, there was no shortage of meat at home, but there would always be a day when the meat was gone. In addition, the meat on the mountain was free, so Mei Shui started preparing to go up the mountain as soon as she woke up. Just in time to leave before An Lin arrives. It's a pity that An Liang and the others didn't come, and Mei Shui couldn't run away even if she wanted to. Grandma he felt happy when she saw Xiaoxiu staring outside the courtyard door angrily. Xiaoxiu, don't wait any longer. Don't go up the mountain this afternoon. An Lin will be here soon. Let's finish the wine business first. After saying that, Grandma he sighed, in the future, don't cause trouble like this anymore. Even if you want to teach, just do it privately. I knew that Xiaoxiu and An Liang were compatible, so I wanted to help him, but now. Oh, that's fine, Grandma, the vegetables we bought last time seem to have sprouted. We can transplant them in a few days if you can't go, just don't go. I secretly remembered An Liang and the others. But I don't know what's going on. This is the first time that the vegetable seedlings that Grandma has planted for so many years have grown so quickly. In 3 or 4 days, they will be planted in the vegetable field. There is a small piece of land behind the house, which is owned by every household, and is used to grow seedlings for vegetables. Generally, the seedlings are transplanted after they emerge, so the survival rate is much higher. At that time, seeds could not be afforded to be wasted, so our ancestors invented the seedling method. Mei Shui can guarantee the survival rate, but this is her first time growing vegetables and she doesn't understand everything, so she follows her grandma step by step. The seedlings grow quickly because of the water in the space. That's because our family has good feng shui. Grandma, you can ask the chickens when you have time. It's been a long time. I am really not used to the noisy little chicken at home. Forget about things that grow quickly. Grandma, he was happy to hear Xiaoxiu say this and laughed. I don't know how long it took, but this time An Lin came to the courtyard of He family with He Zhengting, bringing his things with him. As soon as they arrived, An Liang and An Wen ran over. They had thought about it for a long time, but they had no choice. Uncle Zhengting kept asking them to wait for An Lin. But after turning around, An Liang went to the toilet. Uncle Zhengting and An Lin came over first. This made An Liang feel very unhappy. Third, and as soon as he entered the yard, He Zhengting changed his face and laughed. Xiaoxiu is at home too. Didn't you go up the mountain today? Remember to cast your vote. It is updated twice a day. The village girl is very diligent. The corn in the field is ripe today, red corn. I picked some and cooked it. It tastes really fragrant. It's better than the bought ones. No envy, arrogant face. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 54. Chapter 54, Fake, People, Fake Intentions. Mei Shui's mouth twitched, but fortunately Grandma he pulled her back and said, "Here comes the main court. It's not like we haven't gone up the mountain yet. We are waiting for you. These plums will not be used until tomorrow if they are not put away. This has delayed Xiaoxiu. I will apologize to you here. After you finish your work, you will all go to the uncle's house for dinner and ask your Aunt Ting to make you 2 good dishes to make up for it." He Zhengting is very tactful in his conduct and deeds, and generally does not offend others. Even if he does something outrageous, others will be bribed by him. What a pity, he met Mei Shui and the third grandma. How could the third grandma not know what kind of virtue my nephew has? He is a cannibal with a short mouth, and her family is not so poor that he has a short mouth. Haha, this is good. When the time comes, I'll ask Aunt Ting to kill a chicken and steam a bowl of bacon, not to mention, it's really filling. The third grandma looked at He Zhengting expectantly. He Zhengting swallowed. He also wanted to eat chicken and bacon. He only had so much meat at home, and he always saved up on it. He was reluctant to eat it when he was not doing heavy work. He also steamed a bowl, which, I have to say, really made him feel distressed. But if he says it, he can't just use 2 eggs to get rid of it. He could only look at Xiaoxiu with a smile on his face, hoping that she would refuse. Meixiu also agreed with him, this is not possible. Uncle Zhengting, I don't need to take supplements. I am in good health. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to eat it, so she pretended to be benevolent. Stop, sister-in-law, go ahead. We'll go eat with you then. I haven't had bacon for a long time. And Liang, a silly boy, couldn't stand up immediately when he heard Mei Shui's refusal. Sister-in-law, You don't know how fragrant this bacon is, every bite is filled with oil. Well, I'm hungry again, and Liang complained to Mei Shui with a pitiful look on his face. Just when Mei Shui was about to open her mouth to refuse, someone was faster than her, and that was He Zhengting. He was afraid that the snow would fall, and he would really be reluctant to give the meat to others to eat. It's okay. Since Xiaoxiu doesn't want to go home to eat, I'll ask your Aunt Ting to get you some eggs and you can cook them yourself. Yes, this man is real. Okay, okay, stop making trouble. The sun is so bright, if you don't pick up the plums, they will be covered with maggots. I'll see what you do, Grandma. He felt very unhappy. After looking at what Enlin brought, Mei Shui nodded. He Zhengting originally wanted to stay and take a look, but he was driven away by Grandma He. When he got home, he asked his wife to bring out 10 eggs and asked her to deliver them to Xiaoxiu later. Aunt Ting knew a lot about her men, but she didn't say much. She was still thinking about her younger son, and she felt confident about it. The work of making wine is not a delicate one, Mei Shui said, taking a small stool and sitting next to them to watch. For the first time, Mei Shui was a little worried because she tampered with En Liang and En Wen's tanks. As for En Lin, he used 20 kilograms of wine to learn. Mei Shui didn't want to pay attention to that much, but she said everything that needed to be said. She didn't hide what they should pay attention to. She told them everything. It's up to them how much they can remember in the future. She only planned to teach this once. En Liang was very careful and he had made preparations early. He was afraid that his brain would not work well, so he took a small notebook and wrote down everything Mei Shui said. It wasn't until dark that the three people's plum wine was sealed with Lois, and then they waited. Wait a few days, it depends on how the plums are fermenting. But don't worry, as long as there is space and water as a guarantee, it will definitely not be bad. Mei Shui was the one with En Lin, so she didn't take any chances, but she also paid more attention, so as not to let others hold grudges. After that, En Liang and En Wen also came to see Mei Shui several times and asked her if she wanted to go up the mountain together. But she was rejected by Mei Shui because she had more important things to do, that is, growing vegetables. A few days ago, Grandma was worried that she was tired and asked her to rest at home for 3 days. But now, the vegetable plot at home is not small, and the vegetable seedlings are growing gratifyingly. If you don't sow it in the ground, it will soon bear fruit. Without Mei Shui, the two of them went to chop wood. Meixiu didn't want her grandma to suffer so much, so she didn't let her go to the field, so she asked her to help sort the vegetable seedlings at home. Let's do one thing first. Grandma He divided each dish and asked Mei Shui to cook the same thing every day. The main thing is that there are a lot of vegetables this time, and there are only a few kinds of vegetables in the countryside. Grandma He also planted all the vegetables that can be grown and those that cannot be planted. Don't ask for more harvest, just want Xiaoxiu to be happy. There are 8 kinds of vegetables this time, 2 of which are new products, such as the autumn tomatoes. These are seeds bought from the market. I heard they are small and can be cooked into vegetables or eaten raw. Anyway, Grandma He has never seen it. If Xiaoxiu wants it, she will breed it. There are also watermelons. These things cannot be grown originally, but Xiaoxiu insists on it, so Grandma He has no choice but to breed seedlings in a field for her. The sun is so bright now, and anyone who has farmed knows that there are really not many vegetables that can be grown. Autumn is the harvest season, and there are all kinds of vegetables to eat. Grandma He didn't have much hope, but she still helped Xiaoxiu to raise the vegetables. Mei Shui spent the whole day soaking in the vegetable patch. After planting the vegetables, she watered them. When the water in the pond was gone, she picked it up. It was hard work and tiring, and she worked very things like fattening. After 4 or 5 days of planting all the land she had reclaimed, Mei Shui took a deep breath. Then, spit it out, it stinks. There is no way. Nowadays, Fattening is done from the own manure, or from the cattle pen. The smell is really unpleasant. Finally the work is over, let's call it a day and go home. After Mei Shui watered the last vegetable seedling, she picked up the bucket and walked home. As soon as Mei Shui got home, she didn't see her grandma at home. She was also anxious. Recently, she asked her grandma several times to catch chickens and bring them back. When I was not at home, I went to the village to catch chickens. Mei Shui boiled water and took a shower first. She couldn't help it, she smelled really bad. After taking a shower, washing the clothes and hanging them up to dry, I saw a figure walking up the mountain. He was also carrying something in his hand, a large bamboo frame. Mei Shui recognized the figure as soon as he saw it. That's her grandma. Hurriedly walked down the mountain. Grandma, have you caught the chicken? Mei Shui looked excited as she looked at the chirping chicken. No, if you don't catch it back, Grandma will have a headache from you talking about it. Quick, help Grandma lift it. I'm so tired, Grandma. He put the bamboo frame in her hand on the ground. It was really hard to walk all the way. Perhaps she has done less work recently. In the past, she did not feel tired no matter how much she carried. Hey, I'll carry it, I'll carry it. Mei Shui has been working on these chicks since she got home. She counted them and found that there were not many, but not many, about 20. Get your votes. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 55. Chapter 55, The Wine is Ready. Grandma, can this chicken be fed if it's so small? After having enough fun, Mei Shui asked with a worried look on her face. The main thing is that it is too small, no bigger than the palm of her hand. They can live, they can live. Feed them some rice. Chickens are expensive, but their food is no worse than that of humans. Good. The chickens are back, the vegetables are planted, and they are just waiting to be harvested. Mei Shui feels more and more attached to this family. The seeds for making a fortune have been planted, but the path still needs to be found. The gathering was indeed good, but tiring. Mei Shui began to think about going to the county. August will follow after the chicks have stabilized. Grandma, when are we going to the county town? The wine is almost gone. I'm afraid the town won't be able to collect that much. In addition to Anliang and the others, 200 to 300 kilograms were left in the town, for fear that they would not be able to eat it. It will be troublesome if it cannot be sold, because real money is invested in it. Hearing Xiaoxiu mention the county town, Grandma he felt as if she had forgotten something. It's time to go, there are still a few days before the big market, we will go to the county town tomorrow. You should also ask about your grandson. He hasn't been seen back for so long. Xiaoxiu didn't say anything, but she was probably feeling sad in her heart. Once she heard Grandma agree, Mei Shui couldn't hide the smile on her face. He, Grandma, I haven't been there yet. At least Meixiu hasn't been there now. Okay, Grandma will take you to have some fun. In fact, Grandma he felt very guilty. She could only say that she could find a way to the county seat and go back if she could. No matter how specific it is, she really doesn't know, but if you have a mouth, there is nothing that you can't find out. Grandma, I'm not here to play, I'm here to do business, Mei Shui said with a serious face. She really didn't want to play. She has an ideal, which is to let Grandma count money until she vomits, so that Grandma doesn't have to do so much on weekdays, which makes her hurt. Previously, she was thinking of finding a backer, but she has also been into many mountains. There are indeed small animals, but she has never encountered any large animals that can be used to make money. It would be great if she could meet a wild boar, but unfortunately, she did not have this life. What Mei Shui didn't know was that Hejia village was surrounded by mountains, so how could there be no wild boars? It's just that the place where they live has abundant food and they don't need to be too close to people, so she didn't notice them. However, As soon as she opens her mouth to ask, everyone will probably tell her not to go to Wild Boar Ridge, where wild boars live in groups. There are not only wild boars, but also wolves a little deeper. So the older generation in the village have left a message not to go into the mountains. Except for the mountains in the village, few people go into the mountains. It is deep in the mountains, and the danger is definitely not small. Grandma said she would go to the county town tomorrow, and Mei Shui also started to prepare. She is going to sell wine, so she has to prepare a few samples. That afternoon, when An Liang and the others came back, Mei Shui called the three of them over. Half a month has passed and the wine has almost fermented. Mei Shui has some idea. This is her first time brewing, but the recipe is very mature. Sister-in-law, is this wine ready? And Liang and the others looked excited. Mei Shui opened her own plum first. It should be almost done, but it doesn't matter if it's opened. Ventilating it can remove some of the sour smell of the plums, Mei Shui said deceptively. Mainly because she wanted to get samples. So fast, sister-in-law, you are really doing something bad, and Liang said with a compliment. There is no other way. The one he admires most now is his sister-in-law. She can carry goods up the mountain and work in the fields. There is no daughter-in-law in the village who is more capable than her sister-in-law. I'm sorry, please wait a moment. We'll come one by one. If Mei Shui wasn't afraid that they would think too much, she really didn't want them to come. Break off a piece of yellow mud, and then open a piece of white cloth inside. When the yellow mud falls, the smell of the wine will come out. And Liang and the others had all drank before, and as soon as the smell of alcohol came out, they were immediately attracted to him. It smells good, and Wen was no longer silent. He became excited when he smelled the fragrance. Sister-in-law, this wine is more fragrant and has a stronger plum flavor than the plum wine in the store. What they don't know is that plum wine not only smells, but also depends on whether the wine is thick enough. If it is thick and the plums and wine are completely integrated, then it is a real plum wine. Sweet and delicious, with a strong alcoholic flavor. It's an endless aftertaste. Mi Iza is also a drinker, but this is her first time for plum wine. She scooped out some and tasted it, and her eyes lit up. Haha, it's done. She was really excited. Really? Really, sister-in-law, please give me a try. And Liang pulled brother and went aside and immediately came forward. Meixiu was not stingy either. Go to the kitchen and get some bowls, and I'll let you taste the plum wine today. She wasn't boasting, others might not have this wine. Let's not talk about the magical effects of her space water. Few people can brew this flavor. Hey, I'll go right away. Grandma, he was shocked when she smelled the smell. The smell was stronger than the wine she had just bought. Looking at Xiaoxiu, Grandma, he was very happy for her determination. From the initial displeasure, to the later distress, and now to the love, I truly love Xiaoxiu as my granddaughter. Grandma, try it. Mei Shui poured some into her bowl and handed it to her grandma. Grandma, he didn't know if she was drunk because of the aroma of wine, and she was a little confused. It went into my stomach as soon as I took a breath. Like ordinary wine, it would definitely be harsh on her throat, but with this plum wine, she drank the entire bottom of the bowl without feeling any harshness. There is also a hint of sweet and sour in it. But the wine is not light. Xiaoxiu, this wine, the old lady got excited. Grandma, how do you feel? It tastes good, Mei Shui said with a proud look on her face. Drinks well, tastes good. If it tastes good, I'll leave some more for Grandma to keep at home. Drink some of this wine to keep yourself healthy, Mei Shui said with a smile. At this time, the three people who entered the kitchen also ran out. Immediately handed the bowl to Mei Shui. Grandma, he felt distressed and said, "You brat, you know how to take advantage of me." She didn't show any respect for what she said, but everyone could see the smile on her face, and the third grandma was happy. The three of them giggled. Mixu was not stingy and poured some for each of the three of them. Then he took out a bottle and filled it full for the boss to taste and sell it at a good price. After a good start, Anwen's came next. Who gave him so much? Mei Shui was not afraid. Once she got started, it would become much easier after that. Open a small mouth and scoop out the wine. As soon as the smell of wine came out, Mei Shui noticed something different. But she didn't talk much. Fortunately, she kept an eye on it and let them make it themselves, because everyone's brew would taste different, so she was not afraid of differences. After pouring some and tasting it, Mei Shui's eyes lit up. It was not bad, a little more sour than her own, but overall, it was much better than those sold outside. Recommended votes please. Please reward. Please collect. Thanks Lingling for the tip. Comparison. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 56. Chapter 56, Each Family's Wine. Maybe it's because they are still young and don't know enough about wine, so they can't taste much difference. Recalling what Mei Shui said at that time, Anwen felt it was normal because he brewed it himself. Sister-in-law, please help me drive over and have a look after brother Anwen's success, and Liang also became excited. Mei Shui was not pretentious and immediately opened the bottle of wine made by An Liang. After drinking a little bit, I found that this kid's brew had a thicker taste than Anwen's brew. Mei Shui glanced at him and couldn't tell. Not bad after drinking, Mei Shui said with a smile. After getting his sister-in-law's approval, An Liang was so excited that he immediately stepped forward and poured out more than half of the bowl. Seeing him like this, Grandma he stepped forward angrily and slapped him. You brat, I'm not afraid of getting you drunk to death. After saying that, she poured some of his wine into Anwen and Anlin's bowls. An Liang was not angry even after being beaten, and smiled stupidly at the third grandma. Haha. You're laughing so hard, why don't you drink quickly? The third grandma didn't even notice, this silly grandnephew. Mixu didn't care about them. She wasn't very sure about Anlin's tank, but since everyone else had opened it, he had to open it too. With the mentality that nothing can be accomplished, Mei Shui also opened a seal for Anlin. Fortunately, Mei Shui was not too disappointed, that prescription was really a conscientious one. Even a novice like Anlin's brew tastes better than that of the shop owner. Mei Shui gave it a try. After trying it, she frowned because Anlin's wine seemed to be more sour. Mei Shui looked at Anlin and said, Anlin, do you choose half-ripe plums for your plums? Mei Shui had told them what kind of plums they wanted. With this kind of acidity, the plum must not have been chosen well. As soon as Anlin heard that he was called, he immediately looked at Mei Shui and nodded. Well, sister-in-law, didn't you say that this kind of wine will last longer? That's what my sister-in-law said at that time. Mixu was speechless. Forget it, it was her own choice, but the taste was pretty good. Well, your wine hasn't fermented yet. I'll seal it for you. You can take it back. In half a month, you can open it again. An Liang walked up to Anlin and said with a confused look on his face, Brother Anlin, aren't you here to sell this wine? Anlin nodded, I won't sell it. My dad asked me to try it first. If it works, I can brew more next year. To put it bluntly, their family just doesn't believe in Mei Shui. But don't want to lose the benefits. An Liang is not stupid, he understands everything. Oh, no wonder you chose this kind of plum. An Liang didn't want to say anything more. And Wen didn't even bother to ask more questions. His family's conditions were not as good as those of Anlin's. Their relationship was pretty good on weekdays, but everyone was a sensible person, and when it came to serious matters, they each had their own ideas. The wine you two have prepared is ready, but I don't plan to sell it all to the town. I plan to go to the county town tomorrow to have a look. If someone takes it, the price will definitely be higher than in the town. Speaking of this, Mei Shui looked at the two of them. What about you, what are your plans? And Liang definitely doesn't want to follow his sister-in-law's footsteps. I listen to my sister-in-law. Mei Shui looked at An Wen again. Where is An Wen? I also listen to my sister-in-law. With so much wine, if the price is higher, then his father can buy better medicine. Avana is a thrill. And Lin felt a little disappointed. At that time, he wanted to buy more, but his father didn't let him, saying that it would be a waste if it didn't work. But now, seeing An Liang and An Wen selling wine, he felt very envious. It's too late to regret. That's it, I'll pack some wine and show it to others tomorrow. Mei Shui had already made preparations, so she took out the bottle and started filling it. Hee, sister-in-law, leave some more for me, I want to give it to my dad to try. And Liang looked proud. Grandma, he rolled her eyes at him angrily, I don't have anything to pack at home. As soon as An Liang heard this, he ran out quickly. Not only him, but also An Wen. When they came back, both of them had a white wine barrel in their hands. It can be seen that there is a habit of preparing wine at home. Sister-in-law, fill it up, An Liang said arrogantly. The same goes for An Wen, mine too. Each wine barrel weighs about 3 kilograms. You are considered filial, Grandma, he smiled. Third Grandma, we are not only filial to our parents, we are also filial to you. When the wine is sold, I will definitely buy you delicious food. And Liang knew that the wine could be made, and it must be Third Grandma who helped intercede. And when nodded in the same way, I will be filial to the Third Grandma and buy meat for the Third Grandma when the time comes. He is a person who cannot speak. Sure, I'll be waiting for you, old lady. Grandma, he looked disbelieving. And Lin opened his mouth, but he couldn't guarantee any promises. Maybe they wanted to behave better. After An Liang and the others got the wine, they were ready to go home and show off. At An Lin's side, An Wen patted his shoulder and said, let me help you move back together. An Lin's fault was not his. After sending everyone away, Mei Shui poured some of her own wine and planned to let her grandma drink some. Of course, she is also planning to leave some for her family for her grandma to drink. Next year, she plans to brew more, so the house is not enough and she has to free up a room. There are only these few rooms in the house, and none of them can be left empty. Forget it, when she gets rich next year, she will renovate this old house and build more rooms. Fortunately, this space is big enough for her to plan it carefully. That evening, a small barrel of wine was placed on each table. He Jianxi smelled it as soon as he got home. He was a good drinker, and sometimes the pain in his legs would make him want to cut him off. The wine slowly penetrated into his body, and he would drink himself out whenever it hurt. Then go to sleep. It seems like the pain will be much less this way. After seeing that he was not in so much pain after drinking, Aunt Zillian also consciously prepared wine for him at home, so as to alleviate his pain a little. Have you been drinking today? He Jianxi put away the things and walked into the kitchen with a smile on his face. Normally, when he is not in pain, his wife would not prepare wine for him. Why is it that he is not in pain today? Why is there wine? Dad, you're back, hurry up, come here. An Wen was a little excited. Seeing his son like this, he Jianxi still didn't understand. You brat, don't say this tastes like the plum wine you brewed. After drinking wine for many years, he could clearly tell the difference between good and bad wine. Yeah, An Wen nodded excitedly, Dad, try it quickly. Seeing his son so excited, he Jianxi was also happy for him. Haha, okay, let me have a taste. Haha, Mom, if I hide this wine, will my dad beat me? As soon as he got home, An Liang became furious. Aunt Milian slapped An Liang angrily, your third grandma is right, you deserve a beating. If you have the ability, hide it and see if your father beats you to death. After learning that her son's wine was successful, Aunt Milian also very happy for him. Please vote for recommendations, please reward, and please collect. Don't forget to vote every day. Let me tell you, I have harvested a lot of agricultural products at home recently. Hee, it smells delicious. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 57. Chapter 57, Going to the County Seat. Since her son is no longer young, she doesn't expect him to go to college. She just wants him to have a backer in the future, and craftsmanship is a person's own backer. Once he heard Xiaoxiu teaching him, Aunt Milian almost ran to hold Xiaoxiu and cry, because she was excited, happy and grateful. The family's living conditions have improved a bit in recent years, but she doesn't know how much it will cost to go to college. She also really wants her son to have a bright future and come back from college. But the pressure is also great. Now that her son can make money by selling wine, at least the pressure on her and Genkai has been reduced by half. Mom, drink some more, and Liang looked flattering. If I don't give it to my dad, I'll leave it all to you. Compared with these two families, the atmosphere in He Zhengting's family is much worse. Xiaoxiu said, you can't drink this wine yet, He Zhengting said with an unhappy look on his face. Well, my sister-in-law said that the plums I chose were too raw, and it will take half a month for the wine to be ready, and Lin said while eating. When she came back, Mei Shui sealed in Lin's wine and didn't give him any of her own wine. So, after the wine arrived home, He Zhengting could only watch. Anshan is much quieter. Since the brewing incident, he has changed. He has become quieter and quieter, and his presence at home has become less and less. If his mother didn't feel sorry for him, I would almost ignore him if I think about it. Then why did you choose such raw plums? He Zhengting asked with an unhappy look on his face. And Lin put down the bowl and raised his head. Dad, didn't you only believe half of Xiaoxiu's words and think about the rest by yourself? She said that the plums should be half ripe and half not very ripe. I didn't believe it. I choose plums that are not too ripe so they last a long time. And Lin's brain is not as good as Anshan's, otherwise he wouldn't be helping her at home without even graduating from junior high school. Anshan is different. The fact that he was admitted to high school shows that his brain is good. The grades in the school have always been the first few in the class, and the holidays have been working at home. There are not much time. It can be said that he is much smarter than An Liang and knows better how to protect himself. But, time waits for him, if he learns from Mei Shui this time. After hearing what An Lin said, Aunt Ting slapped him hard. You are stupid, right? If Mei Shui hadn't taught you sincerely, why would she have come to call Anshan home? Well, the opportunity has been given to you, but you see, look what you've done. After saying that, Aunt Ting started to cry. Anshan put down his bowl and chopsticks and said, I'm full. After saying that, he left the kitchen. These little episodes have nothing to do with Mei Shui. After dinner, it was rare for her to go to bed early, and she lay on the bed and had a sweet dream. There are no mutated animals in the dream, nor are there those monsters that eat people, nor those of the same kind that plot against others. There are only peaceful rural scenes. There is only a few puffs of smoke, and there are harmonious and warm noises from every household. The children cried out for hunger, the adults lit the fire, and Kui called on the children to work. The old people talked about the future together. The dream was changing. Slowly, the strange beasts, monsters, and similar creatures with different faces in Mei Shui's dream disappeared. It's dawn and the cock crow is singing loudly. Grandma, don't worry, and Cheng is waiting. Be careful where you step. When she got up early in the morning, Grandma he was a little excited. She might be going to the county town, or to see her grandson. Walking a little faster than usual. It's true that Cheng is waiting, but the car to the county town is waiting for you. Hurry up, Zioxiu will suffer a little, and we will rest when we get to the car. Grandma, he has been there and is used to making cars. I know that the bus to the county town leaves at 9 o'clock in the morning. If it is late, I have to wait until 1 o'clock at noon. If she went there after 1 o'clock, she would not be able to come back in the evening. She was worried about having so many things at home. I'm fine, it's Grandma, please slow down. Mei Shui was really worried. I'm fine, I'm used to walking this way, so it's not a big problem. Just like that, after a busy morning, Mei Shui and Grandma he breathed a sigh of relief after finally getting in the car. Mei Shuizong's tone was because Grandma finally stopped rushing. Grandma he breathed a sigh of relief and finally caught up with the car. Both of them were carrying a big bag in their hands. When I bought the tickets, I bought a ticket for one more person, which made Grandma he very distressed. The road to the county town is not short, it takes more than an hour by car, and at least 3 or 4 hours by horse-drawn carriage, let alone walking. Along the way, Mei Shui admired the surrounding scenery. Actually, apart from trees and passing trucks, I really didn't see anyone. It can be imagined that there are many villages in Hejiakan. However, she likes it because it is calm and peaceful. As we approached the county seat, there were more and more houses. After the car pulled directly to the stop, Mei Shui and Grandma he got off the car. Grandma, are you okay? Mei Shui looked at her grandma, who looked a little sad, with a worried look on her face. Grandma he shook her hand, it's okay, it's just that the smell of oil is a bit strong and unpleasant. Upon hearing this, Mei Shui immediately took out a water bottle and said, Grandma, drink some water. This water was mixed with space water. She gave it to her grandma to drink in the car, but she didn't want it. After getting off the car, Grandma he took it and started drinking. Not to mention, drinking some water is really comfortable. Zioxiu is still considerate. After Grandma had rested, the two of them started walking around. Meixiu was unfamiliar with the county town, so she had to follow her grandma first. This station is not far from the center of the city. It took about 10 minutes to walk, and there were more people and things around. Especially those snack bars. Mei Shui couldn't help but asked, Grandma, what is that? Grandma he explained everything to Zioxiu, come on if you're hungry. Grandma will take you to eat rice tofu. This stuff will heat up the heat and it'll be cool and very comfortable. Of course Mei Shui is willing, nothing is more important than food. Well, I listened to Grandma. When they arrived at the stall, the two of them sat down and heard the boss shout, what do you want to eat? 2 bowls of rice tofu, add more pickled radish and chili. Grandma he looked very skillful. But she heard all this from He-Ans, and this was her first experience. Mei Shui didn't understand. She didn't even know what rice tofu was, so she had to let her grandma order it. Okay, this sour radish was made by the previous one, it's perfect to eat today, and there are still some folded ears. Do you want it, old lady? The boss is a cheerful elder sister. Do you want money? Grandma he missed the point in one sentence. The boss couldn't tell and laughed, it doesn't cost anything. I make it all by myself. If you like it, you can put some in it. If you don't like it, leave it in. There is no one who is not accustomed to eating in the mountain city. Let it go. The old lady was not polite either. Mei Shui smiled as she watched her grandma pretend to be cool, but she was so cute. Grandma, what is this folded ear root? Mei Shui has been here for several months, but she has never eaten it. Additional updates are coming. Please vote for recommendation. Please collect. Please invest. Please support me. End of this chapter. 80s, the farmer's wife is the boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 58. Chapter 58, Life is not easy. It's what we usually feed chickens. It has a strong taste. The ones we make ourselves are not as delicious as the ones made in the store, So no one eats them, they are all used to feed the chickens, Grandma, he explained softly. Migzu was stunned when she heard this. Can people eat what is fed to chickens? Forget it, let's take a look first and see how the boss does it, then go back and try it yourself. 2 bowls of rice tofu are really appetizing when served. Mei Shui smiled when she saw the broken ear roots in the bowl. She digs these things every day, but they are used to feed chickens and pigs. She didn't expect that. Pick one up and put it in your mouth. How should I put it? The taste is a bit weird, but it's acceptable, but it's too salty. Are you used to eating, Grandma? He was worried that Xiaoxiu wouldn't be able to eat. It's not bad, Grandma, please eat it quickly, it will make you feel better if you eat some spicy food. The 2 of them started to move immediately. After a bowl of rice tofu, the whole person comes alive. Having enough to eat and drink, she had to work. Grandma, he was thinking about her grandson, so she wanted to go see Ans first. As for plum wine, she felt more comfortable letting Ans ask. Mei Shui didn't know what her grandma was thinking, but she valued her grandma more than plum wine. When she heard that her grandma was going to visit Ans, she had no objection. She also wanted to meet that man, and if possible, she wanted to talk to him. A loveless marriage is not what she wants. If it weren't for the fact that she was married into the He family, she would have simply wanted to become her grandma's granddaughter. After walking for a while, Grandma he saw a familiar gate. She had been here once. Xiaoxiu, look, it's where the car is parked, and Xia's works there. There are cars coming in and out here, including trucks and cars. Mei Shui never expected that Ans would actually work in the motorcade. Grandma, let's go in. The sun is shining brightly outside. After dinner, the sun was rising so high that it was hot. Hey, let's go, Grandma will take you to find Ans. Grandma, he thought Xiaoxiu wanted to see Ans. Fortunately, the 2 of them didn't have much on them, so they could eat enough if they walked around a lot. Soon she arrived at the gate of the motorcade. Grandma he didn't know where Ans was, so she had to go to the gate guard and ask. Hello, is this the transportation team? Grandma he was a little nervous. The doorman was an old man, he looked to be in his 50s or 60s. When he heard someone ask, he immediately stuck his head out. Yes, sister, who are you looking for? The old man looked very kind, with a smile on his face. I'm looking for my grandson. He works here. Brother, do you know He Junkai? After seeing the smile on the old man's face, Grandma he breathed a sigh of relief and asked with a smile. Migzu stood aside and watched, neither asking nor telling. We know each other, haha, you are that boy's grandma, that's right. Sisters, you come in first, the sun is shining brightly outside. The old man opened the door and asked them to come in first. Thank you. Take Mei Shui into the house. It is indeed much cooler inside. A big iron fan is placed in the corner and blowing. The sound was loud and clear, as if it was highlighting itself. Big brother, it's cool in here, it's so comfortable. As soon as she entered the door, Grandma he was blown by the cool breeze. Mei Shui also felt very comfortable and moved a little bit to let the wind hit her. Haha, it's quite comfortable. Sit down quickly, sit down quickly. The old man looked very familiar with He Junkai. Otherwise, how could he be so polite when he heard that it was his grandmother? Why are you here at this time? Aren't you busy at home? The old man who knew He Junkai asked. Grandma he listened to his tone and was happy. Big brother, are you familiar with June? No, that guy is a good guy, he takes good care of me all the time. The uncle couldn't hold back the conversation, and he and the old lady immediately praised He Junkai. Migzu, who was listening on the side, felt that this person was quite good. However, it was her rule of life to listen to others and believe in them. She sat aside and blew the wind. Don't say much. After praising for a while, the old lady got down to business. Isn't Junchi here now? No, something happened to the team. The last time he asked for leave, something happened to his route. No, after going out last month, he hasn't come back yet. Speaking of this matter, the uncle was also quite worried. He is worried that the transport team will not be able to continue running, and he will be unemployed by then. Isn't it already a month ago? The old lady immediately became nervous. Big brother, please tell me what's going on. The old man did not lie to her. He told her what he knew and gave her a few words of comfort. Sister, don't worry. The kid Junchi is safe and will be fine. Besides, there are 2 other people in the motorcade who are following him. If something happens, they will be back long ago. As a family member, how can we not worry? No matter how safe we are, how can we not worry when we go out? Then do you know when they will come back, Grandma? He asked, holding her clothes tightly with her hands. It can be seen that she is very nervous. Mei Shui saw her grandma like this and immediately stepped forward to hold her hand and give her strength. She also looked at the old man with her eyes. Maybe it's just these few days. If you guys come here a few days later, you might be able to bump into me. Why are you so sure? Because their boss has been smiling recently, which proves that the last rush to buy goods has been resolved. Oh, that's it? It'll be good to be back. It'll be good to be back. The old lady patted her chest to ease her beating heart. Of course I can come back. Sister, don't worry. Junchi is fine. Maybe he will get a bonus when he comes back this time, the old man said with envy. You know, the team's income is enviable. Grandma, he doesn't value bonuses or anything like that. What she values is her grandson, He Junkai. After getting the approval, Grandma he glanced at Xiaoxiu and saw that she was sitting quietly, and she blamed herself for neglecting her. That's it, big brother, we won't disturb you at work. If Junchi comes back, you can ask him to go back to his home at some time. If you have something to do at home, come to him. No problem, I brought this to you, sister, why don't you take a break? Seeing the old lady getting up, the old man immediately asked with concern. No rest, we still have something to do, brother. If you are busy, we will leave first. I originally thought about asking Junchi to help me look for it and sell the plum wine, but I didn't think so. I won't leave you here if something happens, so be careful. Hey, thank you, old man. After leaving the transport team, the smile on Grandma He's face dropped. Xiaoxiu, why do you think you will encounter robbers while driving? There were some things she couldn't say, but in front of Xiaoxiu, there was nothing she couldn't say. Mei Shui knew a little bit about it, she had done something like this before. Life is not easy, Mei Shui said coldly. An earthquake-level event happened at the author's house today, so I am not in the mood to type. If everything goes well tomorrow, I can add an update. I wish everyone good health. Nothing is more important than good health. I wish my uncle will get through this difficult time. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 59. Chapter 59, Give You a Try, please vote for recommendation. Who says it's not? Well, if possible, Grandma just wants you to be safe. It doesn't matter how much money you have. In the heart of the old man, the safety of his family is the most important thing. Don't worry, Grandma, we will be safe and sound, and we will make a lot of money in the future, so I can count it for you. This is her wish. You kid, Grandma, he glared at Xiaoxiu angrily. Let's go, the wine hasn't been sold yet. It had to be said that the county was really big, and she didn't know where to buy it, so she could only look at it while walking. If you really can't find it, you have no choice but to ask someone. Perhaps they were unlucky. They wandered the streets for a long time without seeing any place to collect alcohol. After walking for such a long time, the bowl of rice and tofu I had eaten in the morning had long been consumed. Walking under the bright sun made me not only hungry, but also very dry. Migxia brought out a water bottle. It was impossible to drink all the water in it. That would be too fake and she didn't dare to expose it. Grandma, this is not the solution. Let's find a place to rest first. It's almost afternoon, and we can't treat ourselves badly. Mei Shui waited until she was fine, but she was afraid that Grandma wouldn't be able to bear it. Grandma, he wiped the sweat on her head with the handkerchief Zioxia gave her. No matter how she wiped it, the sweat just wouldn't dry up. Okay, let's go get something to eat first. She couldn't do it either. Shopping is so much more tiring than working. Fortunately, they stayed in the center of the county town and did not go out. After looking around, they found that there were many restaurants here, some large and some small. Mei Shui pointed to a big hotel not far to the left. Grandma, let's go over there. When Grandma he saw it, she became anxious and said, "Bye, Zioxiu, Zioxiu, look, there is a house over there, let's go there. There is a small house on the right, the house is home built, with 2 words on the door, restaurant. The scale is definitely smaller than the restaurant on the left, not just smaller, but much smaller." Migxu opened her mouth and said, "Forget it, just follow Grandma." "Okay, just listen to Grandma." When I entered the hotel, a fan was on, which was really cool. There were not many people eating inside. Mei Shui glanced around and found that there were only about 5 or 6 tables here, and now only 2 tables were occupied. "Find a table near the door," and Mei Shui helped her Grandma sit there. "Grandma, what do you want to eat?" When they arrived at the restaurant, Mei Shui's thoughts were all on those dishes. Grandma he loves Mei Shui very much. Seeing her acting like that, you would not know what she is thinking. However, the money at home is really not much. "Zioxiu, the wine hasn't been sold yet, how about we eat something casually, if possible?" She really wanted to go back to the station and have a bowl of rice and tofu for only a few cents. You can't get out of here without more than 10 yuan. Thinking about this gap, the more Grandma he thought about it, the more she regretted it. "It's okay, Grandma, I still have money in my hand." Mei Shui had her own thoughts. She found a good thing today and wanted to buy one back. It happened that the electricity was also turned on at home. Just don't know how much it will cost. There's no need to spend the money frivolously, Zioxiu, just listen to Grandma and eat whatever is cheap. While the two were talking, a middle-aged man came over and asked, "What do you two want to eat?" He was smiling, and it was obvious that he did not dislike these 2 people. Mei Shui pays attention to eating and drinking, and the clothes she wears are really ordinary. They are cotton clothes commonly worn in rural areas, but there are no patches on them. Grandma he is wearing the clothes that Mei Shui asked Aunt Milian to make for her last time, 2 long-sleeved ones and 1 short-sleeved one. The trousers are all long trousers, straight cut, with no patterns at all. "Do you have any fans here, Grandma?" he asked cautiously. Mei Shui was speechless. She didn't want to eat noodles. She didn't want to eat them because they didn't taste good. Grandma Mei Shui had a headache. "No, the boss will give me 2 dishes, 1 braised pork and 1 egg drop soup." "Do you want to pay for the rice?" Mei Shui asked. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Rice costs 20 cents per person. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't take it away." Seeing the little girl ordering food so generously, he responded happily. "That's good, I'll take these 2 dishes and give me 2 cups, thank you." After ordering, Mei Shui said to the boss. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Okay, please wait a moment." After saying that, he turned around and entered the kitchen. "Zioxiu, this braised pork is not cheap." Grandma he felt distressed. "If you want to eat it, we can buy some meat when we go back. Grandma can cook it for you better." But she felt even more sorry for Zioxiu. "Grandma, it's okay. We won't have the strength to go find the wine cellar after eating. When we have money, we can buy some meat back. We will almost have enough meat at home. Meshi couldn't live without meat. If it was missing, she would always feel like something was missing. There is no way, Grandma, he can only listen to Xiaoxiu. After a while, the boss brought bowls, chopsticks, and 2 cups. Mei Shui took out a bottle of wine from her bag without any hurry. Grandma, you're tired, drink some wine to wake up. Mei Shui took out the plum wine she brewed. The space water in it would make the old lady feel better. Unless something unexpected happens, Mei Shui really doesn't want to go out on the street. If she has the time, she might as well go into the mountains to find some delicious food. You, be careful and don't finish the drink. What will you do if you can't sell it? The old lady said angrily. But her hand was more honest. After Mei Shui filled it up, she brought it directly to her and took a sip. It's so comfortable. As soon as the wine was in my mouth, the sour taste dispelled my fatigue. While they were not paying attention, there was a man in the corner. After smelling the smell, he immediately became energetic. The eyes were filled with light, as if they had discovered some treasure. Drink slowly, wait until the food comes, Mei Shui said to her grandmother with a smile, but she didn't stop her. Can't wait any longer, let's drink some first. Not long after waiting, the boss's food arrived. When he brought the food, he saw 2 glasses of wine filled on the table. That taste. Mom, did you bring this wine yourself? The boss put down the dishes and asked immediately. Why, you can't bring your own things to your store, Grandma, he said defensively. The boss smiled and said, No, don't think too much, ma'am, I'm just a little addicted to alcohol when I smell the smell, the boss said sheepishly. Oh, that's right, haha, bring me a cup and I'll pour you a little bit to taste. Let me tell you, my Xiaoxiu brewed this by herself, and most people can't drink it. The old lady praised her granddaughter-in-law for her smooth appearance and good spirit. The heartache I felt just now has long since disappeared. Mei Shui listened without any embarrassment at all, and put all her energy into the dishes on the table. Mei Shui packed the rice herself. While waiting for the food, Mei Shui saw people serving the rice several times. She was not unfamiliar at all. Seeing her grandma chatting happily, she picked up the bowl and went to serve the rice. Hunted him hard before he came back with the bowl. Got the result, late-stage liver cancer. Why is there no liver cancer caused by hepatitis? Wish, there will be no pain in the world. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 60. Chapter 60, I Can't Hold It Back, please vote for recommendation. Place 1 bowl in front of Grandma and 1 bowl in front of yourself. Grandma, eat first, and then talk after eating. After saying that, Mei Shui took a piece of meat to her grandma. It's a pity that since Grandma he had Mei Shui, she hasn't been able to show off so freely for a long time. She has shown off her work to everyone in the village, and there is nothing new. Finally seizing the opportunity, how could she miss it? It doesn't matter, I'm not hungry, you eat first. As he spoke, he poured a little bit of wine for the boss. See clearly, it was just a little bit. The kind that doesn't have a bottom at all. There is still a mouthful left at the bottom of the bowl, let's try the taste. Mom, you are too stingy, please give me more. He is a wine lover and always likes to drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine. He can tell whether the wine is good or bad by smelling it. Of course, it is a family tradition that not only does he like to drink it, but his father also likes to drink it. It's a pity that his father is in poor health and can't even drink with him now. That won't work. If I give you more, I will lose money. Do you know how difficult it is for my Xiaoxiu to make this wine? I had to waste several vats before I could make this little wine. The old lady opened her eyes and said she was distressed. I only brought a little wine out today, and we will have to find a shop owner to sell it later, the old lady yelled. A buckle. When the boss heard this, his eyes lit up. Madam, do you want to sell this wine? Yes, I still have 100 caddies at home. If I don't sell it, I won't be able to drink it all. The old lady gave him a stupid look. The relationship is great, auntie, can you sell it to me? The boss stopped drinking and immediately changed his identity. I'm telling you, auntie, you've seen this store, I also sell wine at home, look. After finishing speaking, he pointed to his wine cabinet. There were several kinds of wine on it, but they were all finished products in the store. The old lady didn't understand this. Is that wine? Why does it look so good? It must be expensive. No, it's very expensive. If it hadn't been so expensive, would his wine still be available today? Mom, look, if you let me try it again, if this wine is okay, I'll take all of it, the boss shouted loudly. As soon as the boss finished speaking, another voice came from behind Mei Shui, boy, can you eat alone? Seeing the person coming, the boss stood up and said, haha, it's Uncle Shi. Have you eaten well today? How could he forget this man? This man is an old drunkard. It's a pity that he has such good wine. The boss felt regretful in his heart. If he had known earlier, he would have asked the ant to eat in the kitchen. Mei Shui also slowed down her movements. She didn't expect that she could find a buyer for the wine after having a meal. It's really. Looking at her grandma, Mei Shui looked proud. Grandma, he didn't care about Uncle Shibushi. When she heard that someone was interested again, her face felt like flowers blooming. Haha, is Big Brother good at this? She seemed to love wine. Uncle Shi didn't care what the store owner's expression was. He sat directly on the table next to Grandma. Can you, big sister, what's the weight? How many kilograms? Mixu looked up at the sky and saw that it was a big cow. However, the cow could not eat, it could only blow. Not much, 2 pounds is not too much, 2 pounds is not much. Grandma, he is also a master. Bibi, the old man's eyes were shining. Apart from the old guys and journalists, no one could find any rivals to drink with him. No comparison. Grandma, he shook her head, my wine is expensive, I can't compare. With a few words, we turned to the homemade wine. I have to say, Grandma, he is really a talent. It's okay, he has money, let him buy it, we drink it, it's his. Uncle Shi is called an uncle. The shop owner's surname is Zhao. He and Uncle Shi are uncle-nephew, and Uncle Shi and his father are comrades in arms. If he really wants to say this, he doesn't dare to be dissatisfied. Seriously, Grandma, his eyes shone, can he buy them all? You know, my family can brew 3 different flavors of wine, and the price is not cheap. Tell me, how much does it cost per pound? The 2 old men directly put Boss Zhao aside and started negotiating the price. Not expensive, the best 5 yuan. Before Grandma he could finish explaining the price, Boss Zhao and Uncle Shi were almost frightened by the price and fell to the ground. Mom, your wine is good, but the price is too high. Do you know that I can only buy a bottle of Maotai for about 10 yuan now? Boss Zhao felt anxious in his heart. You can't miss good wine, but the price is too much for him to accept. Fortunately I didn't agree just now, otherwise. Mixu was also confused. 5 yuan, she didn't seem to have said this, right? Finally, he recovered some of his concentration from the food and looked at his grandma. Seeing that she didn't look in a hurry, she should just eat. This stir-fried dish is really delicious. Is it expensive? You don't know the benefits of my wine. Let me tell you. Bala Bala was so loud that Mei Shui wondered if Grandma knew that she added space water to it, or did Grandma know that she had space? How is this possible? After hearing this, Uncle Shi was the first to not believe it. Grandma he was also angry. She dared to doubt her own Zioxiu, humming, if you don't believe it, come on, Zioxiu, give me the wine and let this old man have a taste. It turns out that he has never seen anything good. Mei Shui was very well behaved and obedient. She took out the bottle of wine she had just put away from her bag. Give. Smelly old man, you don't believe it? I'm not making any money today. I'm going to fight this and tell you that when you get the benefit, I won't sell it for 5 yuan. Grandma, he is so stubborn. He directly filled up a bowl of wine for Uncle Shi. This bowl was the one brought over by Boss Zhao. Hand it in front of him, drink. This posture is like that of a bandit, his eyes are wide open, and he looks like he won't finish until he drinks. Uncle Shi couldn't stand the smell for a long time. Plum wine is not a good wine. He has drunk it before. During the war, he drank it at a fellow villager's house. It doesn't taste good, but it's certainly not worth the price of 5 yuan a pound. Sure, if it's good wine, I'll cover it all for 10 yuan a caddy. Uncle Shi also has a temper. The first sip of the wine was so rich that he really had a different experience. Another sip was mellow. Unconsciously, Uncle Shi drank up a bowl of wine, and in the meantime he picked up a piece of braised pork with chopsticks. The taste was so good. Jun, go and get me another plate of meat. Put more fat on the braised pork. Uncle Shi is a real uncle. Mei Shui put down the bowl and chopsticks. You've finished our food, what will my grandma eat? She said with an unhappy look on her face. At this time, Uncle Shi also came back to his senses from the smell of wine, and looked embarrassed. Sister, I'm sorry, I couldn't hold it back for a while, I couldn't hold it back. Grandma, he doesn't care about this order of food, she cares more about the 10 yuan a pound of wine. End of this chapter.